Hello everyone, I'm Kamal Motwani and welcome back to my YouTube channel Kamal Motwani's. I'm here today with another IELTS Writing Task 1. As earlier discussed, there are in total 7 types of IELTS Writing Task 1, which are pie charts, line graph, maps, bar chart, process diagram, table chart and multiple graphs. Pie charts we have done in earlier videos, line graphs, maps, bar chart, process diagram, table chart. These all I have covered in earlier videos. The links for these I am going to put down in the description box of this video. You can check these videos in that link. Today I'll solve an IELTS writing task 1 pertaining to multiple graphs. This is the type of IELTS writing task 1 that is left. So I am going to solve this IELTS writing task 1 pertaining to multiple graphs. So let's start and let's see what is the statement today given by the examiner. Let's read it out. Okay, so here is the statement. The graphs below, graphs means there are multiple graphs, show the population growth, GDP growth and employment rate from 2010 to 2020, means this is a decade, 10 years period. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Means there are three graphs shown. uh, one is pertaining to population growth, another is related to GDP growth, and third one is related to employment rate, and that show a period of a decade, over a decade. So let's see what are the graphs that are shown or given by the examiner pertaining to these elements or these variables, and how do we write them in the paragraph format or in the report format. Let's see what are the graphs. These are the three graphs given by the examiner. The first graph is pertaining to population growth from 2010 to 2020. Another graph is pertaining to GDP growth from 2010 to 2020, and the third graph is pertaining to employment rate from 2010 to 2020. You see, these are the three graphs that simultaneously we have to compare and make analytical and comparisons and make analysis and write them down in the essay format by using different paragraphs in the format of essay of IELTS writing task 1. As these are multiple graphs, or rather we can say three graphs in total, that's why this task is called IELTS writing task 1 pertaining to multiple graphs. Because of the graph, these graphs, this is called IELTS writing task 1 related to multiple graphs. As I have already mentioned while solving earlier IELTS writing tasks, that whenever you are given any type of map, diagram, line chart, or bar chart in the examination hall, before writing it, analyze it, interpret it, then only you can write it in an essay format. So let's first analyze these graphs one by one. Only then we can make relevant comparisons and we can describe each graph. So let's interpret and analyze these graphs one by one. So in this first graph we are given population growth from 2010 to 2020. On the x-axis of this graph we are given years, and the y-axis of this graph we are given population in millions. So it starts from 2010. In 2010 the population is around 2.5 millions. You can see it starts from around 2.5 millions. Then in 27 it is around 2.7 million, and in 2012 it is around 2.9. You can see here is the line for 3 millions, but it is a bit below 3 million. So in 2012 it is 2.9 million approximately. Okay, then in 2013 it is exactly 3 million. See here. Then in 2014 it is around 3.2 million. You can see here it is a bit above 3. Okay, then in 2015 it is around 3.5 million. You can see here 3.5 million. Then in 2016 it is around 3.8 million. It is a bit below 4, so it is 3.8 million. Okay, then in 2017 it is exactly, you can see, 4 millions. Then in 2018 you can see it is around 4.3 millions, and then in 2019 it is around 4.6 million, whereas in the last year, that is 2020, it is 5 millions in total. You see, it is exactly the 5 millions. Okay, so this is how we interpret the graph and we analyze it. Now we can see that this this line follows an upward trend steadily. There is not even a single year where the graph or the population growth has gone downward. It has kept increasing. It it started from 2.5 million, then it ended at 5 million. So it has kept on increasing. There is not even a single period or single year where it has gone down. So the trend follows and a completely upward, so this line graph follows a completely upward trend. Okay, however we can notice one thing, which is the related to performance. It shows a high performance, or it shows high high in improvement, because when it starts from 2.5 million, it ends at 5 million. It shows that the population growth from yes, so it shows that the population growth from 2010 to 2020, it has gone doubled. You can see the double of 25 is 2.5 is 5. So population growth has doubled over a decade. That we can conclude from this graph. 2.5 to 5 million, which means the population has doubled over a decade. So this is how we interpret and this is how we analyze the graphs. Okay, then coming back to the second graph, which is GDP growth. Now when we say GDP growth, it also shows the GDP growth over a decade, which means from 2010 to 2020. So let's analyze and interpret this graph. Okay, on x-axis we are given years, and on y-axis we are given, no, it is not the employment rate here, it is GDP here. So here is a typo error. So this is not employment, rather it is GDP growth. This is on y-axis we are given GDP in trillions US dollars. Okay, so here was a typo error. Okay, okay, so now you can see this graph. On x-axis we are given years, and on y-axis we are given GDP in trillions US dollars. So now let's analyze this graph and let's see how does that which trend does this graph follow. Okay, uh, in it for it is over a period over a decade. The same as the population was from 2010 to 2020. It also also shows GDP growth from 2010, GDP growth over a period of time from 2010 to 2020. Okay, in 2010 the GDP growth was around 1.2 trillion US dollars. You see, it was around 1.2. Okay, and then in 2011 it was around 1.3 trillions. Then in 20 Okay, sorry. In 2010, it was around 1.2. In 2011, it was around 1.3. You see? Then in 2012, it was around 1.4, because you see, it is just below 1.5. So it is 1.4. Okay. In 2013, it is exactly 1.5. You can see here. Okay, exactly 1.5 in 2013. You see, this is 2013 and it is exactly to 1.5. Okay, then in 2014 it is around 1.6, because it is a bit above 1.5. In 2015 it is 1.8. Then in 20 yes 16, in 2016 it is exactly 2 trillion US dollars. You see, it is exactly 2 trillions. Then in 2017 it is 2.3. We can see it is a bit below 2.5. Then in 2018 it is exactly 2.5. We can see here, you can see 2.5. Then from here, you see, exactly. Then in 2019 it is 2.8. It is a bit below 3. And then in 2020 it is exactly 3 trillion US dollars. Okay, by analyzing these figures, we again come to know that there is not even a single period of time where this GDP has gone down. So again, the graph of GDP growth in trillion US dollars from 2010 to 2020 follows an upward trend without any fluctuation. Now here we also come to the conclusion that in 2010, this GDP was around 1.2, whereas in 2020, this GDP growth reaches at 3. Okay, so we can say that it also got doubled. The double of 1.2 is around 2.4. So even it has gone far ahead of 2.4. So it is 3 at the end. So we can say that the trend of population growth over a decade and GDP growth goes with the steady upward side, and they both have got doubled over the period of time. Okay, now let's move on the third graph and let's see what does this graph say, or how can we interpret this graph. This third graph is pertaining to employment rate. Similarly, from 2020 to 2010 to 2020 means over a decade. Okay, let's see this. On x-axis we are given years, on y-axis we are given employment, but in the percentage format. Do notice that. So in 2010, the employment percentage from 2010, in 2010 the employment percentage was 60%. You can see this is exactly the 60%. Okay, then it is a bit higher than 60%, which is 61% in 2011. After 2011 with 61 percentage, then in 2012 it is 63 around. You see, this is 63, a bit ahead of 61%. It is 63 in 2012. Okay, then you can witness that here is the fluctuation. Now this trend or this line is coming down. Now this is the period of fluctuation, because from 63 it is coming down to 62 percentage in 2013. You see, in 2011 it was 61 percentage, then in 2012 it was 63%, then this is coming down. And how much is it? It is around 62% in 2013. So here it has fluctuated. Then again it has followed the upward trend, and in 2014 it reaches to 64%. In 2015 it reaches to 66%. Then sorry, in 2015, sorry, in 2015 it reaches to 66%, and then in 2016 it reaches to 67%, then 68% in 2017. In 2018 it reaches to 69%, and in 2019 it reaches to 70%, and in 2020 it is a bit of 70%, you can see. And then it reaches to 72% around, you see. It started from 60% in 2020 and ends at 72%. So over a decade of period, the increment is only 12%, you can see. So it has not got doubled, rather there is a minor increment, or we can say even a notable increment, okay, because it is in the percentage form, but merely it is of 12%. But no, do notice that in this graph it follows an upward trend, but with a bit of fluctuation. For a year it goes down, and again it goes upward and upward and upward. So this is how we interpret the graphs, and now we will write them down in a paragraph format. So let's first discuss the essay format. So here is the essay format. This has been discussed in earlier all videos pertaining to IELTS Writing Task 1. First we write introduction, then we write overview or overall view, then we have to write the paragraphs pertaining to all the elements which are supposed to be described in the IELTS Writing Task 1. Explanation 1, explanation 2, explanation 3. It depends how many paragraphs we want in accordance with the variables that are given in the uh, our IELTS writing task 1. Here we will write explanation 1, explanation 2 and explanation 3 because we have three graphs. So related to three graphs we have to write three paragraphs. So let's see how I have written the introduction. First of all, the easiest format of writing an introduction is that just paraphrase the statement given by the examiner by using the synonyms. That's how I have written the introduction. Okay, let's read it. The provided graphs illustrate, which means I have merely replaced this word below with the provided graphs, show with the illustrate, and the population growth with all this. I have kept these the variables with the same words. We do not use to we do not have to use the synonyms for these variables. Rather, I have used from 2010 to 2020 with the word over a decade. So let's read it. The provided graphs illustrate the population growth, GDP growth, and employment rate in a country over a decade from 2010 to 2020. This is how the crisp and clear introduction should be for this type of IELTS writing task. Okay. Then after the introduction we have to write the overview, or we can call it overall view. I have already told in earlier videos that in order to write the overview we have to write major fluctuations or the major differences superfluously in the overview. Let's see how I have written this overview. So writing in this blue ink is the overview. Okay. Overall, now see, this connector is very much necessary because it hints the examiner that the candidate has written the overview onwards. Now, as I earlier told you when I was discussing these graphs, this that these are the major fluctuations, or we can say these are the major comparisons or the observations that we have drawn out while observing these graphs. That the population growth over a decade got doubled. The GDP growth over a decade got doubled, even ahead of doubled. However, employment rate didn't get doubled. Rather, it there was an increase, but that it was not that much. Like it was not doubled. Okay, so let's see how I have written overview. Overall, all three graphs demonstrate positive trends. You see, they all went up. The population and GDP both doubled, while the employment rate also showed a notable increase. These indicators collectively suggest the robust economic growth and development in the country over a 10-year period. You see, from this to this is what we observed in the graphs, as I have already written here. Okay, this is what we observed in the graphs, but this information I have added from my side in order to give a critical overview from my side in this task as well, because this impresses the examiner a lot, that what is your thought process regarding the upward trend or regarding the improvement. Of course, when GDP is going high, population is going high, and the employment rate also follows a positive trend, this means there is a robust economic growth and development in the country. So this is how you should use the vocabulary, your analysis in this as well. uh, it impresses the examiner, and he or she gives you a lenient band, which means 8 plus bands. Okay, then after overview we have to write explanation 1 in third paragraph. So the explanation 1 will be regarding this first graph, which is pertaining to population growth. So we will describe this graph in the third paragraph pertaining to explanation 1. Let's see how I have written this. Okay, let's read it. The first graph shows the population growth during this period. This period means over a decade from 2010 to 2020. Starting at 2.5 million in 2010, you can see it started from 2.5 millions in 2010. The population steadily increased each year. You see, it has kept on going up. There is no fluctuation, reaching 5 million by 2020. You see, it reached 5 million in 2020. This indicates a significant upward trend in population growth. Now see, this type of terminology is very much necessary, because it shows the examiner that you are well versed with the jargons or vocabulary pertaining to the task. So see, it has shown an upward trend, a steady upward trend. This is how merely you have to describe the graph in your task. Then in paragraph 4 we have to in paragraph 4 we have to explain the graph 2, which is pertaining to GDP growth. So explanation 2 will be written in paragraph 4 pertaining to the GDP growth, which is this one. Now we will explain this one. Here is the second paragraph. Sorry, here is the fourth paragraph pertaining to the second explanation of the second graph. Okay, let's read it. The second graph presents the GDP growth from 2010 to 2020, because we have to write here the second graph. What does it show? So this is a topic sentence which is very much necessary, like this one. This is also the topic sentence. You see, it shows that first graph is related to population, so it shows the second graph is related to GDP growth. Okay, then the GDP started at 1.2 trillion US dollars in 2020 and experienced a consistent rise, reaching 3 trillion US dollars by 2020. Now let's see here. You see, in 2010 it started from 1.2 and it ended at 3 US dollar 3 trillion US dollars by 2020. That's what we have written. Okay. The most noticeable increase occurred between 2015 and 2020, reflecting a strong economic performance. You see, from 2015, here is the 2015, and here is 2020. Now you can see how fast this graph has gone upward. You can measure this one. This has not gone to this has not gone that much faster, but this has gone at the fastest pace, you can see. So these are the major variations that we have to write. So that's what I have written. The most noticeable increase occurred between 2015 and 2020, reflecting a strong economic performance, because GDP is related to economic performance. Okay, then after that we have to write fifth paragraph pertaining to explanation 3, which is related to employment rate over a decade from 2010 to 2020. Let's see how I have written this in a paragraph format. So here is the paragraph about employment rate in percentage from 2010 to 2020. So this is the topic sentence again, from here to here. Okay. The third paragraph depicts the employment rate over the same period. See, now it starting at 60% in 2010. See, it started from 60%. The rate increased to 63% by 2012. Now see, by 2012 it was 63%. Now why I have used the different format a bit to explain this paragraph, because there is a slight fluctuation in this paragraph, as I told you here. This is a slight fluctuation. Now I have to mention this fluctuation in the paragraph. That's why the description of this paragraph is a bit different from earlier two paragraphs. Okay, however, means something is coming in the contradiction. It then dipped slightly to 62% in 2013. You see, in 2013 it slightly dipped down to 62%. From 63 to it dipped to 62%, as I earlier discussed when I was discussing this graph. Okay. However, it then dipped slightly to 62% in 2013 before resuming its upward trajectory. Trajectory means path or route, reaching 64% in 2014. In 2014, it reaches to 64%, means from 60% to 61% to 63%. Then it followed a downward trend for a year to 62%. Then from 62% to it reaches back to 64% in 2014. So then from 2014 64% to again it follows the upward trend. Okay, the rate continued to rise steadily, reaching 72% by 2020. This steady increase suggests improvements in the job market and economic conditions. So this is how we write IELTS writing task 1. Do notice that we do not write conclusion in this, because we write overview in this. So this is how I have explained the introduction, then overview, then 3 paragraphs regarding these graphs. So this is how IELTS writing task pertaining to multiple graphs is written. I hope this is clear to you, but do notice that while writing the IELTS writing task 1, do use the synonyms like I have used. Let me show you. See, here I have written the population is steadily increased, then indicators, then this indicates, then I have used in this You can view this experienced. Then the most noticeable increase occurred. Then in the third paragraph, see what I have written. This depicts, okay, then increase, I have repeated it, then it dipped. I have not write the very simple words like it went down or something like that. Rather, I have used it dipped. Then I have used before resuming. Then I have used this word trajectory. Then I have used this word continued. So this is how you impress your examiner by using multiple words and multiple vocabulary. I hope this is all clear to you. I will see you in another video. If you are benefiting yourself with my videos, I request you all to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and do share these videos with your near and dear ones at as maximum number of people may get benefited themselves from my videos. Thank you for watching this video.